Jackson was the world's biggest pop star, worth hundreds of millions of dollars. But fame had come at a price. Increasingly isolated by his celebrity, Michael had burned tens of millions of dollars in an extravagant spending habit and sunk a fortune, completely altering his appearance. But in 1993, money would be the least of his problems.
Shocking accusations were leveled against Michael Jackson for child molestation. This was the craziest thing that anybody had ever heard, that Michael had abused a little boy. But the scary thing was is that a lot of people believed it.
It didn't do anything, so...
With little appetite for a trial and the inevitable media firestorm, Michael and his team took a different approach.
It came to light that Michael, through his lawyers, had made a settlement with the family for a lot of money, maybe $20 million. They never publicly confirmed how much it was. It was a lot of money to make it go away.
And that was one of the biggest regrets that Michael died with, is by paying off this kid. Because the world looked at it as, oh, he's guilty. No, Michael knew that he was not guilty. And he knew if he would have stayed and fight it, he would have been cleared.
Because they didn't do this.
Innocent or not, the settlement was a PR disaster. And the aftermath was felt in his bank balance.
But in the public's eye, Michael was guilty. This is starting to have a financial impact on Michael Jackson. He's losing fans over these child molestation allegations, and people are not supporting him, so his music isn't selling as well. And he hasn't dealt with this in 20 years. He's been so rich and the cash was just flowing in.
The pressure was also taking a heavy toll on Michael's mental and physical health.
After the 1993 allegations, Michael started taking painkillers quite regularly, and it changed his entire personality. He became depressed a lot, started canceling a lot of shows, and he became just distant at times and sometimes in a daze. And I could tell because I knew how he was before that, and I saw how he was after that, and it was a very distinct change in personality.
As Michael's woes intensified, his spending spiraled even further out of control.
It's almost like Michael is using shopping as his retail therapy.
I think buying antiques and toys, it soothed his pain. Shopping for Michael was like medication. It was his drug. That just stemmed from having pretty much no concept of money, having been a superstar since the age of 10.
Michael has zero concept of money. He just thinks that it's always going to be there, and then he can just spend however he wants, when in reality, that's not the case at all.
No.
For the first time in Michael's life, his income was not increasing. In fact, it was shrinking.
He had the money for a long time to do it. But the problem is, you get into that, and then you're not working so much. You're not bringing in that thriller paycheck.
In the mid-1990s, Michael released his next two albums, History and Blood on the Dance Floor. But his magic touch was fading.
They're selling, but they are no thriller, they are no bad, and we're starting to see kind of the unraveling of his star power. He's just not selling as many records as he used to.
His records aren't selling the same way, concerts aren't selling the same way, the fans aren't there the way they were before.
The dwindling sales of his album impacted his finances immensely because suddenly the endorsements were no longer there. The big tours were no longer there to bring in income. And that played a huge part in his financial picture.
The financial strain only intensified Michael's long-standing insecurities.
So, what are you looking for today?
This is also where we saw the physical decline of Michael. He was constantly going under the knife, getting all these different faces, and he started looking so frail. He was hunched over, he was walking slowly, you'd see him in a wheelchair. He just looked like he had been physically beaten down after everything that was happening to him.
I hereby declare you husband and wife.
Around the same time, Michael embarked on two marriages in quick succession. To Lisa Marie Presley, then to Debbie Rowe.
The allegations of child molestation had done huge damage to his character. And some people were saying that, well, maybe this marriage isn't really real, that it's just simply, to shed a kind of a brighter, more positive light on Michael Jackson.
Though Debbie and Michael had 2 children together, both marriages ended in divorce. And that meant multi-million-dollar settlements, huge hits on a fortune that was already becoming severely depleted.
Debbie gets a $6 million settlement at Beverly Hills Mansion, but what she doesn't get are kids. Michael has full custody of the kids, and they only live with him. They are his.
Michael's behavior became increasingly erratic.
He would go out on these shopping sprees in his pajamas and his surgical mask, and he would create quite a commotion because he was like one of the most famous people in the world shopping in a store in his PJs.
This is when things start to get really dark for Michael Jackson. People start giving him the nickname Wacko Jacko.
Michael hated to be called Wacko Jacko. That was such an insult to him. He really just wanted to be thought of as an artist and a human being, not to be treated as something that wasn't real.
How do you stay Michael Jackson for several decades? Because it's so high pressure. Everybody wanted a piece of Michael Jackson. And over the decades, that must have taken a toll because at one point, Michael just couldn't take it anymore. He just had to leave. He had to disappear. And he did.
After dropping out of public life for 12 months, Michael re-emerged into the spotlight, hoping to recapture the good old days.
So in 2001, Michael does a 30th anniversary concert at Madison Square Garden. It's a huge, huge deal.
He wanted to be back up on stage with all of his family and some of his most important, long-time friends.
Michael had to pay people to appear with him, even his own family.
So Michael has agreed to pay his family members $250,000 each to appear in the 30th anniversary concert. However, Jermaine Jackson and Joe Jackson storm into Neverland and demand $500,000 for the contract.
Michael even had to pay other stars to take part.
Elizabeth Taylor, Michael bought a very expensive necklace as a gift to get her up on the stage. Marlon Brando did a video for the concert. He got paid too. What, $1 million? Everybody wanted a piece of Michael Jackson's fortune.
He just looked so different, so sad. Just really a pathetic shadow of what the superstar used to be. He was completely different, unrecognizable almost, and it was a shock to everybody.
By mid-2002, Michael's finances had turned a corner. After years of being worth hundreds of millions, he was suddenly $285 million in the red.
So as a way to kind of bridge the gap between the money that he's spending and the money that he's making, Michael takes out a loan from Bank of America, a $200 million loan, and he uses the Beatles catalog as collateral against that loan.
But Michael struggled to service the huge debt.
In 2002, Union Finance and Investment Corp said that Michael Jackson owed them $12 million. They were seeking that for unpaid fees.
I don't think Michael ever felt that he needed money. So did Michael know that there was a shortage of cash? Yes, he did know that. But was Michael worried about it? Absolutely not. Michael knew he could do a tour, he could do an album. Michael knew his brand. Michael knew that no matter what he did was going to make money. He's Michael Jackson.
In 2005, Michael was hit with yet another damaging allegation.
So the charges were that in 2003, Michael plied a 13-year-old child with alcohol and groped him.
Already under huge financial and personal pressure, this latest blow threatened to bring Michael's whole world tumbling down.
He was never the same again after that trial.